G'day everyone and welcome to Brushes with Beck. Today's video is a drawing of a duck on Canson Mi-teintes paper. This is an A5 piece of paper, so half A4. I'm not sure what the dimensions are in inches. And I am using the Faber-Castell Polychromos coloured pencils only on this one. Now, for those of you who are already subscribed to my channel, you may have seen 2 weeks ago I posted the video of just the duck's bill, slowed down a bit more. So if you're interested in that, go and check that out. I'm not going to talk about the bill at all, but I did want to say before I get into this video, a huge thank you to every single one of my followers, anyone who has liked, commented, anything on my page, whether you subscribe or not. Thank you so much because I've just hit 500 subscribers this week. So that's a really huge achievement for my channel. And I can't thank you guys enough because that really is all you guys. I make the videos, but you guys are the ones that subscribe. So I can't thank you enough for that. So moving back to the video, like I said, if you're interested in the duck's bill and this smooth texture, I'll link that video up in the cards so you can check that one out. The main reason I chose to do this piece was I wanted to challenge myself with texture on Canson Mi-teintes because it is quite a textured paper, but it doesn't layer as well as the pastel mat does. So I was curious to see, because I'd seen some people get some really beautiful results on Canson Mi-teintes with some really smooth results. But I have a tendency to use the texture of the paper to my advantage to get like texture of fur and to help aid in that sort of thing. So I wanted to be sure that I could actually get a smooth result like you see on the bill, which I'm so pleased with how that came out, while also getting some fine detail and see how much I could layer lights over darks and darks over lights. So this was really a challenge piece to push things both with the smooth texture and the fine detailed texture with these really fine duck feathers. So I found this piece was so much fun, and I only found one part of it challenging, and we'll get to that later on, and the rest of it I just thoroughly enjoyed the whole way through. For the main feathers, I laid in sort of a lighter base brown underneath, and from there, I think that was walnut brown? It might have been burnt sienna. I can't remember. In any case, a lighter brown, and then I used my darker browns over the top to deepen those and add in the texture of the feathers, because I wanted to make sure that I got a nice solid layer in those feathers. I wanted to be sure I was covering the paper adequately, so I was using a lighter brown to be sure that my darks could then go over the top easily. Now, with the lighter feathers, I found that with the Canson Mi-teintes, because it is a textured paper, I can still apply light over dark and bring out those highlights after I have done dark areas. However, in some cases where I added a lot of layers of the darks, I found that sometimes going in with the lights was a bit tricky and they would go down, but they would be more washed out and shiny, like they weren't taking to the paper, they were just burnishing what was already there rather than laying over the top. So that's something to keep in mind. Once I had too many layers down, I'd taken up too much tooth of the paper and the lights didn't finely sort of go on over the top. But, you know, if you don't push too hard with your darks, you can still put the lights over the top. And so I found it easier to just go in with lighter colours first and then do darks over the top as needed. So as you can see, I'm working through the face of the duck here, and I'm actually, the main colour on those light areas is the ivory colour, and I'm actually going in with a number of layers trying to fill that tooth as much as possible. I wanted it to be as non-grainy as possible, so I really went in and worked through that over and over again just to fill the tooth of the paper. And you know, it took a bit of time and I didn't want to press too hard because I still wanted to be able to lay some other colours over the top, but it did work out in the end. I managed to fill the tooth of the paper while also, you know, getting a nice rich colour down, but also allowing me to lay in some other colours over the top where I needed to. Something that I was very pleased with in the result of this duck is the shadow cast under its throat and just on the very front of the breast there. And that I started it a little bit. because I do a lot of work and a few little sketches with practicing values and making sure I'm getting those accurate, because sometimes it's easy to accidentally do your shadows too light or your brights too dark. And in most cases for me, it's not getting my shadows dark enough. So I was actually very pleased with how well I managed to draw, I suppose, with how that turned out, with that shadow under the throat and on the front of the breast. I felt like that is an improvement from, things that I may have done previously, or if I'd drawn this 6 months ago, how I would have drawn that shadow then. So I was very pleased with that, and it really helps set off sort of the duck's face a little bit as you see me complete the image. Now there is subtle colour changes in these light feathers, believe it or not. It's mostly ivory. There is also some, I think it's burnt ochre, and towards the back of this section here, there's also, I think, warm grey 1, a lot of warm grey 1, and then also the beige red through there as well. And anytime I'm laying my tracing paper over the top, it's simply to make sure that my colours are in the right area, making sure that I'm following the pattern of the duck, making sure I'm not going too far in any direction with those colour pattern changes. So this is the area of the duck where I actually got a little bit lost. I think I was looking at the area as a whole rather than sort of breaking it up into smaller sections, and that made it a little bit overwhelming. The area on the left, towards the front of the breast, is actually feathers that are a little bit wet. So it was a bit of a challenge to make them looking a bit more wet and clumpy versus the feathers towards the right-hand side, which are dry. So that was an interesting challenge, but I think it turned out all right. It's just overall, the feathers as a whole became very overwhelming, and I think at first I did struggle with them a little bit, but once I worked out how to approach it, then it started to come along a bit better, and that's much more noticeable when I do the second lot of feathers after this section here. You'll see that in a moment once I move over to that other area. But overall, I'm extremely pleased with how this turned out. Some of it just progressed so easily. The bill, the colour stripe through the eye and the top of the head, it just worked so beautifully for me, and I was very, very fortunate that it seemed to flow, which was really great when a picture does that, because it definitely doesn't always happen. But the things I learned from this, like I said, is it is possible to get lovely smooth layers on Canson Mi-teintes, even though it is textured and layering is limited. And it is also possible to lay light over dark, but if you lay too many dark layers down, you will get that shiny sort of burnished lighter colour over the top, as opposed to a nice crisp lighter colour over the top. And of course, if you are enjoying this video, please do remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below. And I will just mention too that this duck that I'm drawing is a Pacific black duck, native to Australia. It's possible that it may have some domestic mallard type duck in it, as like a partial hybrid. It can be really hard to tell sometimes, and this duck was in like a country town, and country towns and urban areas are some of the areas that you're most likely to find hybrids of Pacific black ducks and mallard types, but it can be tricky to distinguish them sometimes. But I just thought I'd mention that little tidbit of knowledge there. But anyway, as I said, you're working through this duck. I really enjoyed doing the feathers across the back there, and I'm very, very pleased with how they came out. I felt like I got some very nice fine detail there. I adjusted the point on my sharpener to get some very, very fine lines in that area there. So there you have it, my lovely Pacific black duck with Polychromos coloured pencils on Canson Mi-teintes paper. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, please remember to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video. Stay creative.